Welcome to a place where silence speaks louder than screams, and family smiles hide the sharpest knives. Here, concern is often a disguise, loyalty is demanded instead of earned, and love is tested by secrets no one was meant to uncover. These stories aren't just about betrayal, they're about control, manipulation, and the moment truth finally breaks free. You'll hear what happens when parents cross lines, when marriages turn into battlegrounds, and when a husband's hidden allegiance changes everything. Every story unfolds slowly, revealing raw emotions, quiet endurance, and the kind of revenge that doesn't shout, it waits. If you've ever trusted too deeply, loved too honestly, or stayed silent for the sake of peace, these stories will feel uncomfortably real. Stay with us, because here, patience becomes power, truth exposes everything, and no lie survives forever. The lie was delivered with precision, rehearsed voices trembling just enough to feel urgent. A sudden hospital emergency. Grandma's name used like a weapon, sharp and unquestionable. Plans were abandoned instantly, not because of obligation, but because love was still believed to be mutual. Suitcases were pushed back into closets while everyone else moved forward, already knowing the truth that was being hidden. Hours passed with no real updates. Messages were vague, carefully spaced, and oddly coordinated. Worry turned into unease, then into something darker. When proof finally surfaced, it didn't come from a confession, it came from laughter posted online. Sunlit decks, family photos, drinks raised in celebration. The cruise had never been canceled, only one person had been removed. The betrayal cut deeper once the husband appeared in every picture, smiling, relaxed, comfortable among the very people who had engineered the lie. Private messages later exposed how early the plan had been formed. Discussions about keeping the peace, jokes about how easy it would be to distract with fear. The hospital story hadn't been an impulse. It had been agreed upon, approved, and perfected together. What hurt most wasn't the deception itself, but the realization that control mattered more to them than honesty. Decisions were made behind closed doors, assuming obedience would follow without question. A marriage was supposed to mean partnership, yet loyalty had quietly shifted elsewhere. The husband hadn't just gone along with the lie, he had helped sell it, choosing comfort and approval over integrity. Silence became a shield. No confrontations, no accusations. Every message was saved, every photo archived, every contradiction carefully noted. While they returned sunburned and satisfied, something irreversible had already changed. The power they thought they held was slipping unnoticed. When the truth finally emerged, it wasn't delivered in anger. It was released calmly, publicly, and with evidence impossible to deny. Faces that once looked confident turned pale. Excuses collided with screenshots. The husband tried to speak, but there was nothing left that hadn't already been exposed. Some lies are meant to control, but this one did something else entirely. It revealed exactly who everyone really was. Concern was the mask everyone wore so well. Every call came coded in worry, every message carefully framed to sound protective. Family always knows best. That was the unspoken rule. Loyalty wasn't requested, it was expected, enforced through guilt and fear disguised as love. Questioning anything meant being labeled selfish, dramatic, ungrateful. Trust wasn't built, it was demanded. The pressure began quietly. Gentle reminders about responsibilities, subtle warnings about disappointing people who had done so much. Each sentence was meant to steer decisions without ever asking permission. It became clear that affection only existed when obedience followed. Any step outside that invisible line was met with cold silence or emotional punishment. What remained hidden for too long was the role the husband played. Support was promised in private, but actions told a different story. Conversations were shared without consent, doubts were laughed about behind closed doors. Screens left unlocked revealed messages filled with reassurance, not to protect a marriage, but to reassure parents that control would be maintained. Agreements were made that personal boundaries were unnecessary when family comfort was at stake. The realization settled slowly, heavy and suffocating. Marriage had been treated as an extension of family authority, not a partnership. Trust was offered freely, yet discarded the moment it became inconvenient. Decisions about life, time, and even emotions were discussed as if ownership existed. The husband didn't just allow it, he encouraged it, believing peace meant silence and loyalty meant compliance. Every act of manipulation was justified as concern. Lies were softened with phrases like, "for your own good," and "you'll understand one day." Pain was dismissed as overreaction. Meanwhile, expectations kept growing, while respect completely vanished. Love became conditional, something granted only when behavior aligned with their comfort. Instead of resistance, patience took over. Observations replaced reactions. Every inconsistency was noted, every betrayal quietly documented. When truth finally surfaced, it arrived without emotion, supported by evidence too clear to twist. Messages were read aloud, timelines exposed. The concern they once weaponized turned into panic. Loyalty that is demanded eventually collapses under its own weight, and when it did, there was no one left to blame but themselves. Trust once felt effortless, built on shared routines and quiet promises. That illusion shattered the moment patterns stopped making sense. Calls were ended abruptly, messages were deleted too carefully. Simple questions were met with irritation instead of reassurance. Love didn't disappear suddenly. It thinned, stretched tight between secrets and half-truths until suspicion became impossible to ignore. The hidden allegiance revealed itself in fragments, a notification lighting up a dark room, a familiar name paired with words that didn't belong in a marriage. Conversations weren't about partnership or protection. They were about strategy, plans made without consent, decisions finalized before discussion ever began. Loyalty had already been assigned elsewhere, long before any explanation was offered. What hurt most wasn't just the betrayal, but the realization that deception had been active, intentional, and ongoing. Comfort was given to others, while honesty was withheld at home. Promises were reshaped depending on who was listening. The husband played different roles flawlessly: supportive partner in public, obedient son, and quiet conspirator in private. Marriage had become a performance, and the truth was never meant for this side of the curtain. Secrets continued to surface. Financial decisions shared without knowledge, personal fears repeated as jokes in family chats. Even moments of vulnerability had been repackaged and redistributed for approval. Love, once believed to be sacred, had been traded for acceptance and convenience. Every revelation turned affection into doubt and memories into evidence. Confrontation wasn't immediate. Silence offered clarity. Observation replaced emotion. Each lie added weight. Each denial sharpened resolve. Screenshots were saved, dates aligned, stories compared. When asked directly, the husband chose deflection over honesty, anger over accountability. That choice alone confirmed everything that words tried to deny. The battleground wasn't loud, it was calculated. Truth didn't need shouting when facts spoke clearly. When the evidence was finally placed where it couldn't be hidden, excuses collapsed instantly. The confidence once worn so easily dissolved into panic. Loyalty exposed under light looked nothing like love. Marriage cannot survive where allegiance is secret and trust is treated as expendable. and once revealed, there is no returning to what was only ever an illusion. Endurance was never weakness, no matter how often it was mistaken for silence. Pain was carried quietly, observed rather than confessed, while everyone else grew comfortable believing nothing was wrong. Smiles were returned, routines were maintained. Behind it all, awareness sharpened. Every hesitation in his voice, every delayed response, every sideways glance toward his family added another piece to the truth already forming. Patience created space to see everything clearly. The husband's secrets weren't reckless, they were calculated. Loyalty was divided with intention, carefully balanced to keep peace with parents while preserving the image of a stable marriage. Lies were layered gently, wrapped in reassurance and practiced concern. What he didn't realize was how predictable deception becomes when repeated long enough. Timing mattered more than confrontation. Instead of arguing, listening became the weapon. Conversations revealed more than arguments ever could. Messages meant for others were overheard. Plans were discussed openly in rooms where privacy was assumed. Every betrayal was documented quietly, without reaction, allowing confidence to grow on the other side. They believed control was absolute. The turning point didn't arrive with rage, it arrived with clarity. Truth was arranged patiently, like pieces on a board. Screenshots aligned with dates. Statements contradicted one another perfectly. Financial choices, family discussions, and private promises all pointed to the same conclusion. This marriage had been managed, not honored. The husband had chosen convenience over courage, approval over honesty. When the moment finally came, the truth was released where denial couldn't survive. Calm words replaced emotion. Evidence replaced accusations. Faces shifted from certainty to shock as the carefully protected narrative collapsed. The husband searched for sympathy, but found only silence mirrored back. The loyalty he had relied on turned into distance the moment truth demanded accountability. Power returned not through revenge in the traditional sense, but through exposure. Nothing wounds deception more deeply than being seen clearly. The lies that once controlled choices lost their grip instantly. Respect that had been withheld was reclaimed without asking. Endurance had done what anger never could. It transformed pain into truth, and truth into freedom. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like. It helps these voices reach others who need them. Subscribe to the channel for more powerful stories of hidden betrayals, family drama, and quiet revenge that changes everything. Share your thoughts in the comments because your story might remind someone they're not alone. Until next time, remember, truth always finds its moment.